Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2022 UC San Diego Legacy Lecture. My name's Seth. I am the academic chair of the Scholar Society at UC San Diego, and I will be your host for tonight. It's really exciting. Thank you. Really exciting seeing you all here, so thank you for taking the time to support our honoree tonight. I have a couple of announcements before we get started. First, I'd like to ask you to take a moment to notice the nearest emergency exit. There are a lot of us here, so if we have to leave, let's do it in an orderly manner. Next, I'd like to give a big thank you to the Linguistics Undergraduate Association for putting together. They put together the reception out front, and they've brought a lot of enthusiasm and formality to this event. So thank you all very much. And speaking of this event, I'd now like to take some time to tell you a little bit about why we're all gathered here today. The Legacy Lecture, founded in 2016 by the Scholar Society at UC San Diego, is an annual campus-wide faculty award determined entirely by student vote. Previous recipients include Professors Rick Ord, Francesco Pisani, Laura Stevens, and most recently, Professor Nima Moshiri. Yay. The winning professor is invited to present a lecture to the student body with a simple theme. If this were the last lecture you ever gave, what would you want to share with the world? This year, the Scholar Society received nominations for over 100 exceptional professors, but one stood out among the rest. Dr. Will Steiler is an assistant teaching professor of linguistics at UC San Diego. His research focuses on computational approaches to linguistics, specifically in acoustic phonetics, speech perception, and natural language processing. Dr. Steiler uses computer modeling, signal processing, and machine learning to model how humans produce, perceive, and understand language, generating testable hypotheses with computers and following up with human listeners. As a teacher, he specializes in finding the productive intersections of technology, active classrooms, open and low-cost solutions, and sharing his passion for linguistics, and works to develop open tools and resources for improving linguistics instruction. Please join me in welcoming this year's recipient of the 2022 Legacy Lecture Award, Dr. Will Steiler.
Okay. Hi, everybody. First off, I'd like to establish a social contract. I don't usually lecture on a stage. If I fall off, you need to laugh. It will make it much, much less awkward. And there's a non-zero chance of that. So please do keep that in mind. In front row, yeah, good luck. First off, I would like to thank the Scholar Society for hosting this talk. This is absolutely amazing. The fact that they coordinate this process, the fact that they handle everything incredibly professionally, especially to Seth, who has really done an amazing job. This has been remarkably easy to do and to put together as a result of Seth's hard work. I also want to thank my colleagues, some of whom are here, and my students, many of whom are here, for supporting me, just generally speaking, providing feedback, and just being excellent. I want to thank UCSD's Lingua, again, both for being an amazing student club. Right? There aren't that many people who are really jazzed about language, and by God, I love that we've got a group of them. So they are absolutely amazing, and I appreciate them classing the place up. Alas, this is my formal. So anyways, I also want to thank all the students in the audience who helped to vote to bring me here. Right? This is literally the highest honor I could receive as a teacher inside of my heart. Right? It means the world to me when I saw I was up against like other people in big departments. I was like, oh, well, that was nice. And then I got the email. It was like, no. Like I sent 3 emails before I believed it. So that was absolutely amazing. It really does mean the world to me that you've asked me and chosen me to give this talk. And so The prompt, as Seth mentioned, is if this were the last lecture you ever gave, what would you want to share with the world? To start with, it's very nice to be able to give my last lecture while I still have hair. Not many people get this opportunity. So to me, though, this is a very, very simple question. Which is my favorite prompt? This is it, right? Language is the most incredible and complex thing that any of you will ever do. I'm sorry, physics majors. No. Language, and generally, is just so amazingly incredible. But here's the problem. We do it every day, all day. You wake up, and what do? You start looking at your phone, and what are you looking at? Language. Then you get up, you talk to people, with language. Then you go to class, and you're languaged at, and then you read, and you language there, and then maybe you get a moment of math here and there. But at the same time, language is a thing that we do constantly. And so people don't generally see how amazing language is. People don't generally get this. We use language so often that it starts to feel normal. It starts to feel like, yeah, this is a manageable thing that my species is able to do. Yeah, easy peasy, right? We language and we language and we language, and it just feels straightforward. And we stop seeing the complexity. When we're kids and we're screwing up language all the time because we're learning it, then it's like, whoa, this is crazy. But once you get to a certain age, it's just like, yeah, I'm languaging. What's the big deal? Well, stop. And so you stop seeing the weirdness. You stop seeing how crazy language is, and you stop seeing why crazy people like me spend an entire lifetime studying it. So rather than just telling you, yeah, language is incredible, you're gonna be like, okay, sure thing, buddy. Yeah, linguistics bias. Instead, I wanna show you that your language is very, very, very weird. And as a result, hopefully, you'll see a little bit of that incredibleness. You'll see the complexity, and the fact that there's more of that complexity than most people will ever know. And yet, it still works. It still feels boring. You language, and you just don't care. And that is the most amazing thing, period. That is incredible. So one quick note, though. The world has absolutely staggering linguistic diversity, right? There are over 7,000 languages spoken on Earth at this point. More than 200 of them are spoken here in the US. And there are more than 50 languages here in California. Right? There are many, many languages, and every single one of those languages is as fascinating, is as complex, is as incredible, and is, frankly, as crazy as English is. They just hide their crazy in different places. So I'm going to talk about English here today because, well, this is a language that I hope most of you speak. Otherwise, this is going to be a little bit of a rough presentation for you. But it is the most commonly spoken language on our campus, and it has plenty of fun chaos. Right? But English is not the only language that is incredible. And if you speak another language, I want you to go home thinking, oh my God, my languages are all incredible, right? And the fact that you're able to do two of them at once, oh my God, that is incredible in and of itself. So please, be thinking about how all of these ideas apply within your own languages and within your own dialects, because they're all there. So our plan for the day is to tell you that speech is incredible, that grammar is incredible, that meaning is incredible, that all language is incredible, and then to remind you again that language is incredible. So there's going to be some incredibleness today. If that's going to bother you, I'm sorry, you know where the exits are. So, speech is incredible. It's incredible in a bunch of different ways, but one of the first things that you're going to need to realize, your writing system is just a bag of lies. I'm sorry, English speakers, no. We need to demand better, right? There are writing systems out there in the world that are pretty, like Korean. Like if they've got a writing system table out there during the Korean culture night, go give them a high five, right? That's an amazing writing system. English, though, is, it's bad, right? So for instance, let's take this cheesy legacy lecture example. This sentence right here. That C at the front is not a C, it's a ch sound, right? And technically a ch is just a T followed by an SH, right? Everybody say cheese. Cheese. Okay, sounds like one thing. Say to cheese. To cheese. To cheese. To cheese. To cheese, faster. Great, I've got you all saying cheese over and over again, right? This itself is not a C. And then of course, the legacy, the C there is just an S. Right? Legacy. Yeah, that's an S, people. And then in lecture, that's a K. So the letter C doesn't actually need to exist. Like, period. Think of how many cool symbols we could put on a keyboard if we just fixed that. Like, you get one more bonus key. Come on, work with me here, people. Okay, how about this? We fought through the rough bows coughed. So O-U-G-H. So that's aw. This is an oo. This is an o. This is an uff, because there's an f in O-U-G-H, of course. This is an o again, which is cool. And this is an off. Not an uff, it's an off. You can tell because the vowels are the same. This is a problem, right? We need to work on this. This word here, night. Really? In practice, this one made sense 300-400 years ago when it was knecht. Then it worked. Then our writing system was fine. Back then, I wouldn't be giving this lecture with this fervor. I'd be like, yeah, writing system's pretty good to go, right? But now we're saying night with a K on the front of it, or knie. Like, really? Kno. I'm sorry, that's not okay. And of course, here's one that's always fun. Everybody say these two words. Okay, put your hand right against your throat right here. Or the other thing is you can put a finger in your ear. You've got two hands, go for it. Now, I'd like you to say the sound at the start of this, the. You're feeling some rumbling in your throat. You may be hearing that inside of your head at this point. Now, say the TH at the start of thistle, th. Note that you're not feeling that rumbling anymore, right? You have the and you have th. Those are two distinct sounds. And I'd like to highlight that none of you made a T or an H, right? So you have two TH sounds, neither of which are T nor H. And your writing system has been hiding this from you all along. Like, we could put the extra TH key where the C was, right? This would be easy. And of course, this word says a lot about a person, because chemistry majors will easily read this as unionized, and plumbers will easily read this as unionized. This is a problem. We should address this as a language community, right? These two things are two completely different words, yet we spell them the same, which, okay, great. Of course, everybody's favorite example. This, of course, is the word fish. Some of you may be thinking, well, no, stop, you finally lost it. But no, this is the GH from tough, f. This is the O from women, I, and the TI from fiction, sh. So, fish. We've got a problem, people. Come on. But of course, the most vile lie that you have ever been told about your language is A-E-I-O-U and sometimes Y. This is 5 vile deceptions, sometimes 6, and they hide from you the true amazing diversity of the English vowel system, right? Because each one of these is a separate vowel. Beat, bit, bet, bat, bird, butt, bot, board, book, boot, boy, boy, boy. See? This should be pronounced boy. The writing system's getting to me. Run, well, you still can. Buy is how that should be buy, but no, it's bay. Or B-A-E is also bay, that's cool. And then, of course, boat. So all of these are different vowels, right? The only difference between bit and bet is that sound in the middle there, and if you swap between them, right, you're going to have a problem. You can't put some fish in your aquarium. People will look at you very funny. So these are all different vowels, and yet this has been hidden from us by the spelling bee industrial complex. I'm sorry, by well, frankly, a bad lack of updates, shall we say, to be kind, in our writing system. And there are even more vowels depending on how you want to count. And other languages have vowels that we don't, which is amazing too, right? You get like E. E is an amazing vowel. Actually, Californians have it too. D, E, E. Anyways, so there are lots of vowels out there that we don't have, but boy, do we have more than we think. So we should put the writing system aside, like generally, but also for the remainder of this. We should remember that it is never A-E-I-O-U and, well, never Y, too, because sure, double negation works now. But the writing system is a problem. Instead, let's focus on what we're doing inside of our head. Everybody say this uncontroversial statement. Linguistics is the best major ever. Everybody say it, but more importantly, while you're saying it, focus on your tongue. This is going to be a little disturbing, but we're here together going through this. So everybody say this. As you make this, I'll have you say it again in a moment, but look for the pauses between the letters. Look for the little discontinuity. Look for the steps as you go from one to the next. Go. Conditioning in a linguistics presentation? Wow, weird. But no, most of you likely felt that there are no steps. In fact, it's a continuous movement. Our tongue is just dancing through space inside of our head, which is sure a sentence. But nonetheless, this is a continuous series of motions. We are constantly moving our tongues, and we're doing it with incredible complexity. I encourage you, next time you're in a conversation you're not that invested in, just focus on your own tongue. And just pay attention to what you're doing. You're gonna like look more and more shocked throughout this conversation, which will make the other person feel really good, by the way. Like, wow, this is amazing. They're really into it. Anyways, I digress. So, your writing system is hiding the fact that speech is amazingly complex, it's amazingly complicated, and it is smooth, and it moves radiantly with amazing motion. And we have individual sounds that start to blend together, which is amazing, and adjacent sounds affect each other. So, okay, let's take this pair of words right here, car keys. Of course, these are two Ks, because remember, C, lie. So, everybody say car. Car. Pay attention to where your tongue is when you say car. Now everybody say key. Key. Pay attention to where your tongue is when you say key. Now we're going to do something a little weird. I want you to make the K from car just alone. Now make the K from key. One more time and listen to the room. Guys, people, this is two different sounds. Our tongues are in two different locations. And although our language doesn't treat these two sounds as different, they are way different. And yet we don't know this. This is amazing. And this is a major problem, by the way, when people are like, oh my God, why doesn't Siri work? This, among like 50,000 other things. Ling 6, by the way. Anyways, moving on. But here's the weirdest thing. Even when you are, say, up on a stage, gesticulating madly, not that anyone around here does that, you don't run out of air when talking. Like, it happens very rarely. Like, if I'm going upstairs, I'm going to be real here, maybe a little. But generally speaking, we can go about our lives without running out of air, even though we are constantly forcing air out, which means we are planning our breathing to accommodate our speaking. You can walk while you are on a bicycle. You can walk while you are going upstairs, especially if you're more athletic than me. You can walk while doing all manner of wild things. I'm sorry, you can talk, too. You can talk while you walk. Great. Both include an L. That's nice. Thanks, English. But nonetheless, you don't run out of air. And this is absolutely astounding, and we don't think about it because it's just like, yeah, dude, I'm jumping around on stage, and I'm talking. No problems. Like, why no problems? So, okay, making speech, incredible. I hope we've established this. But understanding speech, even more incredible. Let's listen to some sounds. Let's go on ahead and listen to this first one. Bird sound, maybe? Some kind of a tweety thing or another. How about this one? Bigger bird, right? How about this one? R2-D2 is angry? Were any of those human speech? No, not particularly. Let's play them all three together at the exact same time. Anybody hearing things out there? Shout out what you're hearing. Linguistics major. Okay, let's play it again. Anybody hearing anything else? Exactly.
You should declare a linguistics major. You should declare a linguistics major.
Now that you've heard, you should declare a linguistics major. So just to recap. That's speech to you. You just have to put them together first, right? That is weird. This is called sine wave speech, and it shows that your brain can go through incredible distortion and still be able to deal with speech. And our brain is able to come up with speech even here. And that is absolutely incredible. That is astounding. You might be thinking, wow, we're really good at using sound for speech perception. Let's look at this again. Here's a video of some nerd. So what we're going to do here is we're going to split the room down the middle here. So everybody on this side, and if you're cut down the middle, make a choice. It's going to be okay. Everybody on this side of the room, close your eyes. Everybody on this side of the room, look at the screen while I play this clip.
Ba 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 ba.
Okay, eyes closed team, what were you hearing? Were you hearing a ba like a sheep? Were you hearing da like Russian for yes? Or were you hearing ga like goo goo gaga? Lady Gaga, better still. So what were you hearing? Show me hands, ba? Okay, cool. Folks over here with your eyes open, what were you hearing? Were you hearing ga? Were you hearing da? Were you hearing ba? Okay, a little bit of a mix. Let's switch sides. Let's give the folks over here a chance. So now this side, eyes open, this side, eyes closed. Ready?
Ba 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 ba.
One more time.
Ba 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 ba.
Okay, this side of the room, what were you hearing? Ba, exactly, like the sheep. This side of the room, where were you? Ba? Da? Ga? Okay, so here's the weird thing. They're the same video. When you watch this video with your eyes open, you will hear, generally speaking, ga or da. When you close your eyes, you will hear ba. The reason for that is in this video, I am saying ga, ga, ga. In the audio, I am saying ba, ba, ba. Your brain is going, oh no, I don't like this. This is not okay. Because I'm hearing something made with the lips, ba, 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 but he's not making, my lips are not pursing, right? I am not making a sound with my lips. Instead, I'm making something in the back, and your brain's like, it's not in the front, but I see it in the back. It's in the middle. And it decides D. And so if you watch again, you can open and close your eyes.
Ba 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 ba.
This is absolutely bizarre. And one of the reasons why this is so weird is that it means that speech perception isn't just sound. Right now I'm talking to you, I'm creating sound waves, but you're not just using those. And if you look at me doing a weird thing on a video, then you are suddenly going to go, well, maybe that's da? And you don't even know it. This is at a very, very deep subconscious level. This is called the Mcgurk Effect. And so your mind just splits the difference and goes, I don't know, it's da. Sure, have fun, Will. Good example. And so this shows that speech perception is multimodal. It means that we're not just using audio. We are using any cue that is available to us to understand speech. So that's awesome. But here's the weirdest thing. Every single person you have ever met sounds different. How many of you have never heard me talk before? How many of you can't understand me right now? Raising the hand, a little suspicious. I'm going to be real here, but that's okay. Enthusiasm appreciated. So the fact is, you've never heard me before. And I have perhaps a different language background and a different dialect than you've dealt with at a very fine-grained level, right? I'm my own weird little linguistic snowflake. You've never heard me before, right? And I have a different vocal tract length. The space between my larynx, my vocal folds, my vocal cords, the more common term, down here, and my lips, well, that's on me about 17.5 centimeters. Yes, you can calculate from sound. You should take phonetics and you'll do so. It'll be great. But anyways, and we have different tongues and we have different resonances. We make different shapes with those tongues, with different voices. And as a result, it is quite possible that two different people could make the word dead and did acoustically almost identical. And you would just go, yeah, They said did. They said dead. Your brain would just pave over the fact that two people just said acoustically damn near the same thing. And just like, yeah, dead, did. What's the problem? This is astounding. Frankly, this shouldn't work. Yet you don't care. You really don't. Unless somebody has an accent that you have never heard before, or unless they have an entire mouthful of food. By and large, we understand people. You've never gone up to the cashier at Vaughn's and just been like, I'm sorry, I've got nothing. This is astounding. And this is the reason I'm in linguistics. Just like, no, this shouldn't work. Stop. Yet it works, and it works for humans. It works for little tiny humans too, who just barely have, this works for chinchillas, this works for dogs, this works for zebra finches. Zebra finches are good at vowel perception. This should bother you. It bothered me, but then again, what can I say? But this is amazing. We are really, really, really good at this. And so speech is incredible. It is nothing like our writing system makes us think it is. It is fluid. It is continuous and complex. We are able to perceive speech despite incredible distortion. We use information that is not just acoustic in doing so, and the fact that we can create and understand speech is incredible, period. And we're doing all this using mechanisms that we don't entirely understand. Speaking of which, grammar. Grammar is incredible. So what do we mean by grammar? Well, I'm a linguist. We have a slightly different take on grammar than most. Grammar to most people means things like, oh, there is a nice park over there. And people start stewing, right? They start boiling. They are preparing the YouTube comment, carefully crafted to show their superiority. No, that's the wrong form of there. And so that to them is grammar. Or, oh, Jessica's a great person to travel with. Oh no, you ended a sentence with a preposition. How dare you? Everything is broken, the world is falling apart. That's the kind of grammar people talk about. Or, oh, there ain't much good about our writing system in English, irregardless of how you look at it. Yeah, I heard cringing in the crowd, and that's fine, because we have these strong instincts, but that's not the grammar I'm talking about. Linguists, by and large, aren't interested in saying ain't a real word. And irregardless is kind of cool, right? So this is not the grammar we talk about. This is what we call prescriptive grammar. And these are social rules, and I want you to remember that. Next time some YouTuber yells at you, or some commenter yells at you and says, oh my God, no, you used grammar incorrectly. You're on a forum or on Twitter, and somebody's like, there, right? You didn't sign their social contract. You don't need to put up with this. These incorrect sentences that they are correcting you on, they still understood. And you know they understood it because they were able to correct you on it. Otherwise, they'd just be like, I've got nothing. Right? So this is a mistake that people make all the time, a mistake. Right? How often do people end sentences with prepositions? A lot. And frankly, if they didn't, then the people who grump about grammar would be out of a job. So at some level, it's a vicious cycle. And some of these things come from older versions of the language, right? Some of these things are blind adherence to the writing system. Like, for instance, your, and your. That's right, I said the same word 3 times. Just saying. There. You couldn't hear which one was different. Just saying. But some of these things, though, are just arbitrary decisions by people in power as to what is correct. I don't like you. Therefore, I don't like your dialect. And ain't, that's not good English. And the best way to deal with this is just to ask, well, how do you know that's correct? Who told you? They'll be like, well, and they'll name somebody random and famous, or they'll point to like Strunk and White. By the way, laugh. Yeah, thank you. Strunk and White. There you go. So linguists really don't care much about this kind of grammar. Instead, we're focused on descriptive grammar. What kinds of rules do people tend to follow when they're speaking? What do people actually do when they are being communicative, when they're being understood, and when they're understanding? What makes language hard to understand? What makes language ambiguous? What, when you change it, breaks things? What makes things hard to deal with? How can we describe the patterns that people tend to follow when they are speaking language? And how do speakers with different dialects vary in this? Because different dialects are not bad or wrong, they're just different. They have a different set of rules. And what are those rules? What are people following? What grammar do people have when they are speaking this other dialect? These rules are describing how people actually communicate. And when you break them, it tends to make things break down. It tends to cause problems. And we have intuitions about what is grammatical and what is not. We can ask ourselves, like, is what you're hearing, is what you're reading, is this English? Does this sound right? Do you understand what's being said here? Can the words go together like that? Does that work? Does this usage feel like illegal? Like if I say this word, are they going to come for me? Right? We have these intuitions. So let's try it. Here, give you some sample sentences. I'm honored to present to you today. What I want you to do is, you all have hands. Give me a thumbs up if you like the sentence. Give me a thumbs down if you dislike the sentence. And if you're in the middle, indicate, right? Use the full positionality of the thumb. So I'm honored to present to you today. Is this a fine sentence? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up. Good. Jessica's succulent porch obsession on growing the has-an. Hey, I'm glad we're on the same page. Yeah, this is kind of a mess. Somebody stole my lamp. I'm delighted.
It was a really bad lamp.
It was a really bad lamp. Nice. All your base are belong to us. Nerds in the audience are okay with this. Other folks, maybe not as much. Saw the car red. If you're a Spanish speaker, it's perfectly fine, right? That's the proper order there, but in English doesn't fly. So remember, these rules are going to be different in every language. Thing is, though, we don't always consciously know these rules, but we follow them, even when they're strange. English past tense forms. We have to talk about English past tense forms, because English used to have a really good productive process that worked for everything. It's called ablaut. We changed vowels in middle words. So we had something like the past tense of sing is sang. Rather than singed, as we might expect, it just goes to sang. And then, of course, ring, by analogy, would go to rang. Nice, easy, regular. This makes sense. And then, of course, bring goes to brought. And more importantly, my third grade teacher had the audacity to correct me when I said brang. Like, dude, sing, sang, ring, rang, bring, brang. And it gets worse because sting goes to stung, not stang, or stot, stung. I don't know. Ding, of course, though, goes to dinged, which is special, right? That one's regular. Great. And we know this, and we get angry at people when they don't do it right, which is like, really? Where do you see right here? You see the ones you're familiar with, but correct? Okay, anyways. English plurals are weird too, and you might not realize this, because if we have words like cats or mutts or laughs, they end with a s sound. S. It's voiceless. We're not vibrating our vocal cords. Go ahead, sound like snakes. S. Great. Dogs, professors, and nerds, by and large, end with a Z sound. Dogs, professors, nerds. Great. Dishes, washes, and pluses, we have to throw a vowel in there. Otherwise, we get dishes. And that's kind of problematic, right? Wash, plus. Yeah. So we have these three different forms of plural. Plus there's the en one, like oxen and brethren and children, but we just pretend that doesn't exist anymore. But anyways, how do we know which one is which? How do we choose this? And what happens when you get a new word? So this is, of course, half the room is applauding, the other half is really confused. Wugs have become, we're going to just forget that pluralization real quick. Just wind that one backwards. These creatures, there we go, have become a symbol for linguistics. In fact, one person in the audience actually has Wug makeup on, which rock on. But anyways, this is a Wug. Now there is another one. There are two of them. There are two. We had one person who's living in the 1700s with wuggin'. And you know what? Again, rock on. I'm a linguist. I want to know more about that experience. But anyways, most people will say wugs without any controversy. Final voiced sound, zzz. There are two wugs. This is known as the Wug Test, right? As a linguist, you have to pass the Wug Test on a regular basis. Anyways. You don't. But this was developed by Jean Berko Gleason in 1958. This is a good old experiment, but you know what? It's great because it tells us that both young children and adults have intuitions about these rules. right? Because if you've never heard what a wug is before, you would kind of think that you'd just be like, wag, right? Because we do that too, remember? Mouse, mice? Yeah. Anyways, I digress. So this shows us that we have intuitions, and that these intuitions can apply to words we've never heard before. And how this works is really interesting, right? And there are many different theories as to how exactly this works in the brain, but what it shows us is that we know things about creating words. So let's think about some other words we could create. So I'm going to ask, are these words okay, good to go, ready, absolutely set words in English? Are these like, or is this a new? So, okay, quieter. A lot of thumbs up, good. Wheelbling. What? Yeah, no, that's going to be a thumbs down for a lot of folks. Slowest. Good, so we can add or ist to words, and that makes sense, right? We can do that, no problem. So imagine we have the sentence, Ari won the 2021 track meet, but Juan had a faster time when he won in 2022. Therefore, Juan was fastester. How do we feel? Yeah? No, not even a little bit of love for it? Okay, fair enough. So no love for fastester, even though we're fine with ist and that one doesn't work. Okay, let's try again. Lecture. Good. I hope you're familiar with that one at this point. Breaking. Yeah, feel pretty good about that. Shockingly. So I was given this honor of being here today by teaching. Therefore, this is the teachingliest honor I have ever been given. Yeah? There's a lot of mercy thumbs up out there, I know, but that's okay. That's okay. These are words that we understood. When I said fastester, you were like, yeah, but stop. Or teachingliest. Like, yes, I understand you, but never do that again. We have these intuitions that are very, very, well, continuous, right? It is not wrong, but it's sure not right either, right? And fasterer is definitely better than unblueringlier, which is just a train wreck, but it's much worse than like unlockable, which feels like a word where we're just like, yep, absolutely good to go, or quieter, or something like that. So grammatical isn't just a yes or a no. We can have these feelings that are someplace in the middle, like, yes, I understand you, but I hate that I do. This is a thing that we can do. And we have intuitions about sentences. So for instance, give me thumbs up here. Will and Jessica went out for Krispy Kreme. Sounds good, right? Actually, that does sound good right now. Pleased to be no eatings. I are not tasty or nutritious. Old meme, checks out. But not super grammatical, right? This is what used to be referred to as kitty pigeon, the lolcat dialect from the memes way back in the day, which is entertainingly the first and last time I've ever been featured by the news as a linguist. The Australian State News Agency was like, dude, lolcats, and I'm like, okay, sure. Anyways, now I teach linguistics of memes. But anyways, I talked to more people than I recognized them. Wait, like you're good for me, like good, no, stop. This here is called a resumptive pronoun. We're not generally okay with it in English. It's better than some things we could do, but it's not gonna be great. I saw the cute black three cats. Ugh. You're looking at me like unpleasant things just happened, but here's the weird thing. If I say, yeah, wrong order. Somebody shouted out in the back, wrong order, exactly. If I said, I saw the three cute black cats, how do we feel? That's perfect. So apparently your adjectives need to be in the right order, or English speakers will go, ugh. And this is kind of weird. Let's build another sentence, and let's do it gradually. Let's see how it goes. So the, give me your thumbs up. Just keep them in the air. The, we're feeling good about the. Okay, good, definitely. Definite article, pun, no? Okay. That was way funnier than you all thought. All right. The boat. Feeling good so far. Floated. Down the river. Sank. Yeah, something happened there at the end, right? This was unpleasant because we're like, oh yeah, the boat floated down the river, sank. No, you don't know, not a verb there. There's a verb already. And so your mind had already gone all in on a particular read. Your mind is like, the boat floated down the river. Great, I'm with this sentence. This is excellent. And then it got to that verb at the end. It was like, no, okay, everything is a lie. What used to be the verb is no longer the verb. This has to be a separate thing. But if I were to put the right spin on it, this is what's called a garden path sentence. Your brain commits to one thing, but then when you get to that last word, you just crash. Everything breaks down, you fall apart, and you have to back up to understand it. You can make these feel okay, right? If I were to say, the boat floated down the river, sank, or the boat floated down the river, sank. That feels a little bit better, but it's still kind of awkward, right? It's still a little bit problematic. So these garden path sentences are really problematic, and it's a great way to just stun somebody, by the way. Like if somebody's annoying you, just shout a garden path sentence at them, and they'll suddenly stop at the end and be like, what's wrong with you? What did you do? Right? Anyways, linguists have few methods of self-defense. We have to make do with what we can. Please do not try that in a series that's not anyways, moving on. So here's another thing. How we say the sentence can matter in other places too. So imagine I'm giving you a grocery list, right? You've come to my lecture, now I think you owe me groceries. And I give you a list, and I say to you, run to the store and grab cheese, M&Ms, tea, some avocados, pine nuts. I'm done, what are you waiting for? So here's the weird thing. I didn't do that right. If that was the last item on the list, I needed to say it differently. I needed to say cheese, M&Ms, tea, avocados, and pine nuts. I needed to end it with pine nuts. But if I just say pine nuts, they will wait. If you want a good way to troll your roommates, partners, spouses, which is not spice for whatever reason in English, mouse, mice, spouse, spice, anyways, I digress. But if you need a good way to troll them, this is a really good one. Just end lists without the proper intonation, and they will stand there. And they will have no idea why they are standing there. It's just like, and then after a point, they just look at you like, what's wrong with you? And then you say, I'm a linguist. They're like, oh, that explains it. Let's try another set of sentences. We're going to do this as a lightning round. Again, let's have the thumbs up here. I'm going to give you a sentence, and you're going to tell me whether it's okay or not. We're going to do this quickly. So, more than cats attack the new sofa than dogs. Yeah, not feeling great. Most people call their friends more than I do. Okay? Pedro Moore went to the parking lot in the. Just pretend I said that right. No. Okay. More of my plants are succulents than not. More people have been to Mexico than I have. Chantel saw more squirrels than Charlie and May. Jessica has more been to Tijuana than students. Ugh. More UCSD students post raccoon memes than I do. Will makes more puns than most professors. Some people are nodding, great. So, okay, we got a problem here, though, because although you were great, you provided me great judgments, more people have been to Mexico than I have, and more UCSD students post raccoon memes than I do. What does that mean? Like, read it carefully. What does this, you said this was fine. I just want to remind you. I have you on record. There's an audience camera. You said these were fine. But more people have been to Mexico than I have is gibberish, right? It doesn't make sense. We can't understand what this means. More UCSD students post raccoon memes than I do. No, this doesn't work. Yet you approved it. And these are what are called comparative illusions. They come from blending two things together. More people have been to Mexico than Bhutan, perfectly reasonable sentence. She's been there more than I have, also perfectly reasonable. But when we smack them together and say more people have been to Mexico than I have, the brain's like, yep, that checks out. Until you try and get the meaning, you're like, oh, no, this is wrong, stop. Well, no. And so these are really cool because it shows that you can have a grammaticality judgment that's like, yep, good to go. And then you stop and you're like, oh, no, never mind. These feel grammatical, but then they stop when you try to think about the meaning. So grammar is incredible. It's much more than just the silly grammar rules from pedants, right? We have a very strong knowledge of what forms should be used when, and this varies, of course, language to language and dialect to dialect. We understand that although we've got a lot of options, we don't always use all of them. Like, for instance, what was it, teaching-liest? Yeah, we don't use that one generally around these parts. Some of our judgments about language forms are very strong. They're black and white. And some of these fall into gray areas, right? Where it's like, yeah, that's wrong, but it's not so wrong, but I understood it, but I don't like you anymore, right? We have these feelings all the time. So we have these very strong and very gradient instincts about how language works, even when we're not aware of these instincts, even when we don't know. But as we saw with the last one, when meaning gets weird, these can break down. Which brings us to our next topic, which is meaning is incredible. So, okay, y'all understand what words mean, right? I sure hope so. Otherwise, this lecture probably flew over your head a little bit, right? It'd be a little weird. So, okay, truck. Everybody picture a truck in your mind, right? Some of you are probably picturing your truck, if you own a truck. Maybe you're picturing a specific truck that, somebody had around you when you were growing up. Maybe, you're thinking of something else entirely, right? But you all have some conception of truck. So if I show you what a truck is, you should be able to say, yeah, it's a truck, good to go, right? Yeah, okay. So let's ask a very, very common question that we're asked in 2022, which is, are you a robot? These are the CAPTCHA things that we see online. These are trying to use human intuitions about language and images to say, oh yeah, I'm totally not a robot. No, me never. Although I fail these depressingly often, so maybe I actually am a robot at this point. But anyways, what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to have you click on all the slides containing a truck. So you can either click with your mouth, you can snap if you'd like, you can even clap if you'd like. However, you just need to make a click when you see a slide with a truck. So, okay. Good. Yeah, this feels pretty trucky to most folks, right? This is a good quality truck right here. Almost, okay. We got one person fooled. I think you're probably a robot. I'm sorry to break this to you. It's Blade Runner style, right? Anyways, spoiler alert. So this is a penguin. This is not a truck, at least according to most folks. Right here. Yeah, it's truck. Good. Yeah, truck. No, comes from the audience with great anguish, right? This is kind of trucky, and I bet if you sawed the back off, it would probably feel like a truck again to you, which is problematic, right? It's convertible. Nice, I like that. So this doesn't feel trucky, but it's way truckier than the penguin was, right? Yeah, okay, good. Wait. Getting some clicks here, a couple of robots, but this feels truck-ish. It's truck-esque. It's truck-adjacent. But it's not, strictly speaking, a truck. Okay, how about this? That's a hamster. Good. Okay. A round of applause for this public domain hamster. Will, did they like your talk? Well, they liked the hamster. Okay, how about this? Yeah, this is a toy truck, people. Is that still a truck to you? Oh, okay, interesting. So you can't drive it, can't really put much in it. You can put a little in it. Certainly doesn't have an engine of any note, but still truck? Oh, okay, that's cool. Good for you, robots. How about this? Well, my skateboarders in the room understand that this is a skateboard truck down here at the bottom. So technically, yes, but probably not to most people. How about this? Again, click wait, right? Our immediate instinct is truck, but then you're like, well, and it says fire truck, but some people have fire engine, and that makes it more complicated. So this is truck adjacent again. How about this? This, of course, is an El Camino. That is an open pickup bed in the back here. This is an actual, yeah, these existed. Are we feeling truck now? Now that there's an open bed? Are we clicking? A couple of people are like, yeah, sure, why not? I'll let them in, right? Okay, sure. So here's the thing. Words have some kind of a core meaning to them, right? Some of those trucks you were like, yep, 100%. Some of them you were like, no, that's a penguin. But some of them you were sort of in the middle of like, this is trucky, but it's not really a truck. And that's kind of cool. We call this core idea the semantic prototype. It's the closest thing that kind of in our mind matches that word, but you can go further away from it and still be truck-esque, right? You can still be a truck. And so when you're looking at these CAPTCHAs and you're like, is that a bicycle? And you're like, well, there's a hamster on it, so yes, but no. AI, why are you so cruel? We have these instincts. And so what this tells us is that word meanings are not all or nothing, right? We don't just feel like, yes, that's a truck straightforwardly. There are ones in the middle where we're like, I don't know anymore. I'm a robot. And so that is a thing. Thing is, word meanings can also shift. Is one many? Give me a thumbs up. Does the word many include just one? No, probably not. How about 5? Is that many? Okay. How about 20? Is that many? Yeah, that feels manier. Okay, so to answer this question, though, more concretely, we have to ask a different question. Did you hear about the bug that listens to you talk before biting you? Yeah, they're called linguistics. Okay. So I didn't think people would laugh at that. So let's say that 20 people did. I actually thought that was really optimistic, but thank you all. I'm a little suspect of your sense of humor at this point, but thank you. It's very merciful. But let's say that 20 people laughed at that overall. Did many people laugh? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Maybe. Did many people laugh if there were only 22 people in the room? Yeah, then we're feeling like, yeah, that's many. What if there were 40 people in the room? Half the room laughed. 20's not feeling so many anymore, right? What if there were 5,000 people in the stadium and 20 of them laughed at that joke? A, story of my life, but B, that doesn't feel like many anymore, right? So our meaning of many depends on the room it's in, right? It depends on the specific context. So we can't say that many is a certain number. Many is kind of closer to a proportion. That's wild, right? That's really interesting. We also understand the intentions behind sentences. So, for instance, if I say this, never enroll in Will's classes if you don't like puns, instantly you understand this is a warning, right? This is somebody who is making a declarative statement and saying, you're going to have a really bad time if you enroll in these classes. I'm going to come visit to next week. You understand this is a question, right? Oh, they want an answer. You've never once thought to yourself, wow, was that a question? This isn't something we struggle with. Give me the enchiladas. You understand instantly this is a command. This man is serious about enchiladas. You better just turn him over so no one gets dipped in guacamole. You should really declare a linguistics major. This is, of course, a deontic, right? This is not a statement. You are supposed to understand that you should do this, right? This is a statement of what is truly best for you, for your soul, for your very ongoing. Later on, a little thick there. Up in the back row, students cringed in anticipation. We understand that this is narration, right? We understand that I'm saying something about what happened back there. We understood the intentions here. You know what's a question. You know what's a command. You know all of these things very straightforwardly. There's never a question. Like, was that a command? Like, it's kind of weird when you have to ask that. And usually, well, the answer is probably yeah. But anyways, thing is, though, there are some meanings that are actually hard to understand, especially without world knowledge. So if I say, I saw the chancellor of UCSD's office, you understood this sentence, right? This makes sense to you. Clearly, I looked for UCSD's office and I found its chancellor. This doesn't work because you, as humans, understand that UCSD has a chancellor and the chancellor has an office. But it's not the case that UCSD, well, I guess we've got an office, but that office doesn't have a chancellor, right? This is the same thing with I saw the Queen of England's hat, which is a very classic example of sentences that computers can't even with. They're just like, no, I'm sorry, because we understand that Chancellor of UCSD is a thing and that he would have an office, but that can be very variable. How about Will brought the Chancellor up during his talk? If the Chancellor was sitting right there, and by the way, he's not, it's okay, not hurt. If the chancellor were sitting right there and I brought him up on stage, that would mean one thing. You would know that from context that I mean to bring up onto the stage, right? But instead, I brought the chancellor up metaphorically, like, oh, I talked about the chancellor. Great, I hope he feels special. I went to the store. You all know what that means, right? You all have in your mind, if I said, oh yeah, I went to the store, you have a sense of what that means, right? And it probably means, for most of you, something like maybe a Vons or a Ralph's, like a grocery store, someplace that you would go to regularly, a Walmart or a Target or Super Target, I don't know if you're feeling extra. But either way, Whole Foods if you're feeling real extra. Anyways, I digress. You understand what that means. If I say, I went to the store, you have a whole different set of things that we're not going to go into right now. But you've just made a bunch of assumptions based on a slight shift in intonation. That's cool. Oh, I saw him. Imagine I walked up to each one of you after this, and I said, oh, I saw him. Who am I talking about? Some of you might say, well, the chancellor, probably, right? That's who I was just talking about, but maybe you have no idea. Maybe I was just talking with some of you because, I'm in class, so I was just talking with some of you about a cute raccoon that was sitting outside of AP&M or something like that. And you'd be like, oh yeah, cool, raccoons are awesome, right? Or you would have a guess as to what I meant by this, even though we have very little shared kind of knowledge about it. So you can make these massive assumptions. Or I feel you. This is a sentence that means many different things to many different people, right? It can mean, I have great sympathy for your situation, right? It can mean, yeah, I understand you. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Or it can mean, we are both in a dark room and I found you. Like, I feel you. At which point, yeah. So this can mean many different things depending on the context, but you probably didn't go to the dark room one because hopefully you don't spend that much time feeling around dark rooms for humans. Frankly, I'm not going to judge you, but have your fun. But anyways, so, okay, I'm going to give you a sentence that you can understand perfectly, but you have no idea what it means. Imagine you walk out from here, you exit out into the courtyard, and you see this on the ground. Meet me here tomorrow. So, what does this mean? Run. Yes, it means something weird is happening, but more importantly, you can't actually tell what this means. Because tomorrow could be today, it could be actual tomorrow, it could be yesterday, which was the day before's tomorrow, weirdly enough. And you don't know who me is either. It could be me, Will Styler, it could be the chancellor, for all you know, and you don't know where here is because it's blowing along the pavement. Maybe this was put down in front of AP&M, and it's blown over to the Price Center. You don't know. And so this is a sentence that you completely understand, but you have no idea what it actually means. And that's kind of cool, right? Without world knowledge, you cannot understand this. The other fun thing is we think about why people say things, right? You don't talk in isolation. There's always a discourse. There's always an ongoing conversation. When somebody says things, we assume things about their intention, right? So if I say, Will, who is definitely not Batman, gave a lecture, this generally implies to most sane humans that I'm Batman. Not going to disabuse you of that one. Maybe, Batman's put on a little bit of weight. Anyways, nonetheless, maybe I fight crime. But the fact is, somebody wouldn't say that if there wasn't a little bit of suspicion that I was Batman. Right? Dalen sure has been hanging out with Helen a lot lately. Ooh. So this could mean that many things. This could mean many things, right? It could be that they were classically enemies, but they've been mending fences. It could mean that, oh, they're having a relationship. Or it could mean that there's a conspiracy afoot, right? Like, oh, Dalen has been hanging out with Helen a lot lately. I better get another lock, right? We don't know exactly what this means, but we can kind of guess, right? I ate some of your donuts. Why? People are donut defensive here. Okay, that's fine. The thing is, if I were to send that to my lovely wife, I were to send her that text message, I ate some of your donuts, and I had eaten every last donut. This is what most states call grounds for divorce, right? Because if you say some, this means that there should be some donuts left over, right? And it is true if I ate all of her donuts that I ate some of her donuts. I just then proceeded to eat the rest of them. But I wouldn't say this. Right? This would be problematic for me to say in so many ways. Your watch is gone? I wonder if Ryan's back in town. These are unrelated statements, but I kind of threw Ryan under the bus here, right? You're probably thinking Ryan is a master pickpocket, or maybe he's a cat burglar, right? But immediately you understand that Ryan is, well, sus, right? There's something wrong with Ryan going on here. Really? That gets applause? Like, wow, he used slang grammatically. That's cool. God, he's balding and he knows what sus means. Okay. This is the joy of teaching 101. You guys keep me young, or at least fake young. But anyways, we understand what is implied without even thinking about what's being said here. You hear definitely not Batman, you're like, oh, he's Batman. Without even a second thought, and this is amazing. So meaning is incredible. Even a single word's meaning can be really tricky to pin down, or trucky as some case may be. Thank you for the mercy laughs. I thought that was going to die on the vine. Whatever. Okay, great. Sentence meaning is very easy to understand, except when it isn't. Our knowledge about the world is really important to understand what sentences mean, and getting meaning requires us to make assumptions about what's going on in the world. So we understand meaning with incredible nuance, and we need to know things about the world in order to do it. And that's awesome. So I know what you're all thinking. Bruh. That might not have been grammatical. Holy crap, I got it. Okay, cool. So this is a modern piece of slang, and it is incredible too, right? Because all language is incredible. Everybody's language is amazing to linguists, right? This is one of the nice things about being linguists, is I don't have being linguists. I am a Gemini, I guess. You can't really pluralize that. Okay, that was way funnier than you thought it was. I get clapping for sus, and that one. I thank you for your mercy. Anyways, everyone's language is amazing to linguists, right? There is no such thing as good language or bad language. Social situations can say, yeah, you're probably not going to want to talk like that right here because these people are problematic, right? We can say things like that. Or if you want to be taken seriously in this context, unfortunately, you will have to talk in a certain way. You will need to fit a certain mold. But that is social. And that's not something that linguists do. We'll talk about, why you need to talk in a certain way. That's really interesting, but it's not something that we're enforcing. We're not saying it's bad. Nobody speaks incorrectly to a linguist, right? If it was incorrect, we wouldn't be saying it. It wouldn't be grammatical. And by and large, unless you screw up, you're not speaking ungrammatically. You just talk differently. And speakers of different dialects do not have bad grammar. I want to reinforce this. A lot of people go through their lives thinking, oh, I'm not articulate. I have bad grammar. I don't talk like I should. These are social statements. These are things that people have told you about how you talk. And honestly, as a linguist, no, that's ridiculous. If you are able to talk and people are able to understand you, then by God, you won. You have done language. You have languaged. Congratulations. You are good. So, different dialects do not have bad grammar, they just have different grammar, and we can describe that. And we believe that all language, then, is valid and fundamentally worthy of study. And we care about lots of kinds of language use. Slang is incredible. If somebody uses a word and somebody else understands it, that's cool. That is worthy of study. You may have strong instincts about gasification, or based, or mid, which I learned just this quarter, actually, or simp. Really? You may have these instincts, or you may not. You may have no idea mid. Oh, that's what's between bass and treble. No, it's slightly different these days. But it's quite simp to accidentally use words incorrectly, right? I love making people cringe with words. That usage was, in fact, cringe. But anyways, we understand slang, and we find it useful. And it's just as cool as any other piece of language. The fact that it's only been around for, about 6 months for mid at this point, doesn't make it any less awesome. It doesn't make it any less understandable. Swearing also is just amazing. And it has fascinating linguistics features, absolutely worthy of study. Swearing does really cool things. There's a whole class on, actually, linguistics of swearing in the Cog Sci department that is just, yes. So, internet language is also incredible. I was raised by the internet. That explains a lot about me, unfortunately, but it is kind of a thing. So emoji use, that's linguistic, 100%. Emojis are just another form of language. Internet-first linguistic forms, if you will. Things like text speak, or LOL, SMDH, DNI, BRB, thanks. All of those things are 100% language, right? You understand them. Right? If I say language is the most complicated things you'll ever do, physicists, DNI, do not interact. Yeah, I know. Oh, snap. But anyways, key smashing turns out is language. This was established actually by one of our honors students in the linguistics department who presented this at the LSA, Linguistic Society of America. So the Linguistic Society of America has officially endorsed key smashing is language. That's cool. And ooh, it is valid too. So, all of those things are language. Memes. Memes are incredible, and they are language. So, here's a meme. People, for those in the back, people attending my legacy lecture at UCSD saying, wow, language is incredible, and see, he looks all enthusiastic, right? Thing is, for those of you who meme, this is violently ungrammatical. This is, in fact, so wrong that I should probably be ejected from the internet. Right? Next time I log in, it'll just scar up around me and, right? This is really, really bad, and it's bad in a bunch of ways. We have instincts about why. This is too much text. That probably shouldn't be up there. And why is it in this font? Who is making memes in Times New Roman? And the butterfly needs to be labeled here. That this is actually has nothing to do with the meaning of this template at all. This is wrong. And absolutely, this needs to start with, is this incredible? Like if I put, is this incredible, and that was language, then we're closer. Still a little off, and it still needs to be impact, but let's be real. This could be better. But the fact is, looking out at the audience, there was quality cringe there. In the same way that when I said fastester, people looked at me like, ew. When I put this up, people looked at me like, And this means that this is language, right? We have intuitions about memes. We understand the meaning of different meme templates, and we understand that some of them have uses in some cases and not in others. We can do it very wrong. We can move elements of memes around, like the sunglasses. Those 100% are affixes, just like you put at the end of fastest or faster, same basic idea. The methods we use to describe word formation, the stuff I teach in Ling 120 morphology, is the same stuff we do with memes, right? It just is wearing a different set of pants. So all of this is there, and memes have meaning. They change meaning too. Over time, the Doge has changed so much over the course of history, right? And for those, a bunch of people are like, I have no idea what he's talking about, but I'm glad he's happy. And that's okay, right? But we see change in memes too, and that's absolutely amazing. So memes are language, change my mind. Actually, don't. Because you won't be able to. Code switching. This is a term that many of you might not have, but this is the seamless blending of multiple languages, or in some cases dialects, within a single sentence or within a larger utterance by multilingual folks. So you get something like, Mañana me voy al Price Center to order mis textbooks for next quarter. This is a blend of Spanish and English. People will often call this something like Spanglish, right? And a bunch of people are like, oh my God, what have you done to English? Like, dude, it's English and it's Spanish combined, and it's amazing. Speakers are here simultaneously using elements of both languages' grammar. If we look very carefully at the speech patterns associated with code switching, we are able to see very detailed changes that start when you move to Spanish and then gradually fade away as you get closer to English, then come back when you switch again. This is absolutely amazing. All of the fine-grained details of grammar in two languages are being used at exactly the same time. And this is not bad. This is not bad English. This is not silly language. This is the coolest thing. You are doing language twice at once, and people are understanding you, and oh my God. So code switching is language. And we can also do it with dialects, right? Many of you are probably multi-dialectal. You talk one way with your friends, with your family, with your parents. You might talk differently with a professor. You might talk differently with your friends from a certain area. We switch seamlessly between these, and in many cases within a single sentence. This is incredible. And if you do this, you should be proud. This is astounding. Bilingualism, multilingualism, frankly, lingualism at all is amazing. But doing two of them at once, or three or four, sure, have fun. Awesome. So code switching is language. Speaking of different languages, sign languages. They're language. 100%. This is a common misconception that people have. They think, oh, sign, well, that's just miming, or you're spelling out another language with your hands, right? They think, oh, well, this is just English, but you're doing it in a handy way. But if this were just miming, then you should be able to understand all the signs, right? So, okay, right here, this gentleman is performing two different signs. One of these is father, one of these is mother. If you're not somebody who's familiar with ASL, can you tell? No, not really, because this feels kind of arbitrary, right? In fact, it is. In one place, you have the hand down here, and for the other, you have the hand up here. In the same way that when we talked about this thistle, in one place you were vibrating your vocal cords, and in the other place you weren't, it's the same basic idea. You're changing where you're making the sign, and that carries a meaning. That makes a difference, and we understand that this is mother and this is father, right? Which of these is white, and which of these is like, also meaning enjoy? In this case, the only difference here is the hand shape. The only difference is that on this side, the hand is coming to a different shape than in this one. Again, this is a really tiny little detail that a lot of people, if you're not familiar with sign language, you might look right past, right? Oh, he pulled his hand away from the chest. But in sign language, this is important. This carries contrast. It has meaning. So we understand, if you are a sign language speaker, that this is white and this is like on this side. Which of these is paper and which is cheese, right? You would kind of expect that, well, paper and cheese don't look too similar because, well, actually, if that's something you have trouble with, don't make grilled cheese sandwiches. It's going to be a problem for you. But in this case, the difference is motion. The hands are moving in one way on one side and in a different way on the other side. In fact, this is paper and this is cheese. This is not to say, of course, that signed languages don't have anything iconic that kind of looks like what it represents. This sign here is die, like to die. Like that's kind of like thump. Yeah, that makes sense. But English does this too, right? This, if we say whoosh, right? Like the meme section for some folks in the audience, probably, I don't know. But anyways, whoosh just sounds like, well, one of the jets flying overhead again here on campus. So we do this in English too. And so this isn't evidence that sign is anything less than language. Sign is language. Signed languages are language. And their grammars differ vastly from nearby languages in many situations. American Sign Language isn't related to English. It's closely related to French Sign Language. Entirely different language. There are entirely different grammatical concepts in ASL. The same theories that we use to talk about spoken language can be used with sign. By the way, all of the same things that we do to look at sentences make sense in the sign world. We can think about words in the same way. We can even think about adjacent signs changing in the same way that we think about adjacent sounds changing, like in cats, dogs, and fishes, right? The same ideas work here. And so signed language are just as valid and interesting to study as any other spoken language. Signed language is language. And it is incredible because it is language that is done entirely differently, yet it still ends up feeling to linguists very much the same. It still acts like other spoken languages, and we can still analyze it using the same tools. That is absolutely amazing. So signed language are different from spoken languages, but they are still very much language, and they are still very much within our domain as linguists. And of course, the rest of the world's languages are amazing too. And I wish I could take the time to go through every language. So how long are you gonna be here? Got anything going on Monday? But no, different languages have different sounds that are not present in English. Yeah, fun, right? You have different sounds present. You have different word structures. There are languages where an entire word can be both very, very long and stand in for what would be a whole sentence in English, right? This is really cool. There are different ways to build sentences entirely, different orderings for words, different things that we can do to show who did what to whom. And there are different ways, more importantly and most interestingly, to talk about reality, to talk about space, to talk about time, to talk about how events went down. In some languages, like Turkish, you actually have to say the source of information that you have for an event happening rather than just saying, well, it happened, right? So this is cool. And this shows us that, well, we're doing things a little differently in every language. And by the way, every single language is just as capable of describing reality as every other one. But every language does it differently. It's not the case that there are languages that are primitive. It's not the case that there are languages that are broken, that just don't work. They can't express modern concepts. No, that's just problematic. Instead, every language is able to talk about the world, And if they don't have a word for something, guess what? They'll make one or they'll steal it, like English does all the time. English is a massive thief. Anyways, a whole other lecture there. But as a result, as linguists, we believe that every human language can teach us something. Every language community can tell us something about how communication works, can show us something a little different, subtly new, or it can tell us a little bit more about how languages came up together, diverged apart, etc. No languages are boring to linguists, right? They are not like, oh, I don't know, Icelandic, really? No, Icelandic is awesome. I want to be clear about this. But no, there are no boring languages. There are no basic languages. There are no primitive languages. There are just different languages. And we as linguists can work together to collaborate with communities to help folks to learn and to preserve and to share and move forward with their linguistic heritage as they see best fit. This is one of our most important tasks as linguists, to be able to work with communities and offer help where we can as people need it and give back to those communities as well. So all language is incredible. Not just the language that is spoken here at UCSD, not just the language that is spoken with, no. Whether it's formal or informal, whether it's prestigious or unrecognized, whether it's new or old from Dickens' Discord, whether it's acknowledged as language or not, whether it's signed, whether it's spoken here or anywhere else in the world, language is language, no matter the form, and that is worth celebrating. All languages are incredible. So I'm going to ask you one last question. How is a legacy lecture like an extension cord? As a plug at the end. So, I know that this sentiment has been unclear throughout the entirety of this presentation, but I genuinely think you should think about a linguistics major or minor, right? You can learn how we make sense of some of this madness. Right? You will have classes that look at the craziness that is sentence construction or word building or what exactly I'm doing inside my face right now. And you'll find even more madness in the process because it just gets crazier. I'm sorry. Ling 101 is a great place to start. It's offered every quarter as well as over the summer. And there's more info here. This just links to our major site, but you can get to that a little quicker. But okay, back to the original point. Using language is the most incredible and complex thing you will ever do. Speech is shockingly complex. And we just don't care. We just do it. We are barely aware of our grammar, and yet we use it constantly to make these really fine-grained decisions of like, yeah, unlockable, that's great, fastest or ew. Right? We are able to do this constantly. We understand nuanced meanings that are informed by our understanding of the world as well as our understanding of words, and everybody languages differently and in worthwhile, valid ways, all of which can teach us a little bit more about humanity and about communication generally. Language is worth studying, and a life in language is a life well spent, because language is incredible. Right now, and throughout this entire presentation, I have been flapping bits of meat around in my head. As I do so, this creates little tiny air pressure variations that are being picked up by this microphone, sent through all these speakers here, and then eventually getting into the air. That goes into your ear and that vibrates some little hair cells, which releases some potassium, which is cool. And then that creates little subtle electrical signals, which you take into your brain, and then you use it to figure out where my tongue is. That's what you're doing, by the way. We have pretty good evidence that you're probably thinking in terms of where his tongue is, like where my tongue is right now. So enjoy that image. Anyways, so you figure out where my tongue is, and then from there, based on these little fiddly vibrations, you are able to string together, oh, okay, well, I know these chunks of word, and then you put those together into words, and then you put those together into sentences, and then you combine your knowledge of world meaning to understand, okay, well, this sentence, when you put it together like this, probably means that, and then, okay, well, given the discourse, oh, what he was just talking about, coastline, and then you understand my thoughts. This is just really slow telepathy. Language is incredible. Period. That is the wildest thing that I can imagine. I'm flapping bits of meat around in my head, and suddenly you have my thoughts in yours. We don't think about it that way, but we should. And so I hope that someday, after you've finished your linguistics major, but nonetheless, someday you will sit someplace boring, like an airport or something like that, and you're waiting for a plane, and two people are talking next to you, and you're listening to them. And you don't care what they're saying, but you're like, oh, wow, holy crap. I think I hear where that person's tongue is. And then, wait, was that really a word? But, well, the other person understood it. That's weird. Wait, I have no idea what that means, but they do. And suddenly you're going to see the world like we do, like I do as a linguist. And you will realize that language is the most incredible thing that humans do, have done, and ever will do. And I hope you all can legacy that now. Thank you all so very much, mostly for laughing at those. That was asking a lot. But it's been a real pleasure to share this with you all today, and I hope you took something wonderful away from this today. Thank you.
And now, it is my honor to bestow upon you, Dr. Will Styler. Can you hold this? The 2022 Legacy Lecture Award.
Thank you very much. Not going to cry.
Thank you all for joining us this year, and we will see you in 2023.